Good late Thursday, early Friday. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, giving you a look at those current temperatures across the region. You see some 70s here on the board still. Other spots, though, are finally starting to get down in toward the upper 60s. So that's kind of at least a little bit of clear coming in, but I mean, it's kind of getting into a warmer pattern now. As we look ahead, it's going to get even hotter. I mean, we're going to see temperatures toward the mid 90s here for those highs as we get toward next week, later on, a little bit later on. So that's kind of something to keep in mind. I know nationally there's been some active severe weather still, and we have to turn that logo red again as we get here ahead toward next week. I know something to kind of keep in mind there as we're looking at things. I know, looking right now toward Oklahoma, there's a severe thunderstorm warning in play right now for parts of, it looks like Cherokee and Sequoia counties until about 1 o'clock Central Time out there. So, looking at things here, this is, as we're looking there east of Muskogee, looking like areas there southeast of Tulsa being impacted. So, that's kind of the storyline right now as we're looking at some things. I know, zooming out a little bit more, see a little bit of significant tornado parameter holding on another. There's a pretty significant tornado there north of Abilene going back on that Thursday evening. We've been tracking some other storms in the previous days as well. And again, may have to turn that logo red for a more organized, significant severe threat next week toward this general part of the country. I know we'll see that here in more detail in just a few moments. Let's go ahead and kind of zoom out a little bit more here. You see temperatures pretty warm as we're looking there. And I know we are going to see some storms in our neck of the woods as we get toward the weekend here, but nothing just completely overwhelming as we look at things. So that's some good news, at least if you have weekend plans. There'll still be a lot of time to go to the beach, but keep in mind, whenever thunder roars go indoors, and as we get later on in the next few months, there'll be some days you won't really be able to for a while. So just try to take advantage of things, but it's going to be a little bit stormy at times. I know graduation weekend as well there for colleges, universities. So weather looks decent, but not perfect. There'll still be storms. Could even have some rogue severe warnings. So something to keep in mind. We'll break in if and as needed. Of course, you do have Facebook there though, where we'll post warnings, and Twitter/X there if we don't actually come on for live coverage. Of course, if there's a tornado warning storm moving through the 62 counties, then we will be on for live coverage for sure. But you see down towards South Florida, temperatures still around 80 degrees. I mean, oof, pretty warm down that way as we're kind of keeping our eyes on things. And less than a month from hurricane season starting. Those tropical weather outlooks will be out pretty soon. They come out starting May 15th, so we'll start to be keeping our eyes on things here as we get closer to what looks to be a very active season. But keep in mind when I say that, I mean it's kind of with a caveat here, because as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here, I mean, it takes one storm, but also, I mean, even if you have many storms, they could. And like in 2010, I know we saw many hurricanes there, and tropical cyclones recurve further out in the Atlantic. Don't know exactly how the pattern is going to set up, except we know the overall setup will be conducive for more storms, but it's a matter of where they develop and where they track, obviously. In 92, I always bring this up over and over, but in 92, Andrew was one of the few storms that year, and it tracked in a very, very wrong way towards South Florida as a Category 5, even hit parts of Louisiana later on, and even had a hurricane in the Central Pacific that year that really impacted Hawaii. So, again, I know that's not directly related, but just it only takes one, is my point. So, even in a lesser type of active period, then you still have issues, but you can have many storms and they all, you get lucky, they all recurve. It just means there will probably be a higher chance of something coming this way in general, but again, it's more pattern based, so it's just you got to watch every hurricane season and every storm here at least a little bit. I mean, some you can get a pretty good sense early on they'll recurve away or not be an issue, but others a different story. So that's something that I'll be tracking over the next several months here as we really start to get toward that summertime period. We're not quite there yet, but it kind of feels that way as we're looking at things. I know. Let's go ahead and kind of I'll pull up the graphics here as we're checking things. as we're watching. I know we're Monday. There is a slight risk for severe weather toward Oklahoma City and Norman and Tulsa. This far out, that's actually a pretty significant risk. You see Wichita and Kansas. I mean, even in Wichita Falls, Texas, you have Lincoln and Omaha, Nebraska, too. So, going to be pretty active as we look ahead here. Make sure you're staying tuned for the latest. Could have more risk added down the line from this as we look ahead in the timeline as well. So, gotta pay attention here. Could be pretty active next week, and we very well may have to turn that logo red. I'm very close to doing that, holding off just a little longer, but we'll be watching here next week, obviously. Could be pretty, very even, or maybe even very active. So, as we kind of say here, let's go ahead and give that rainfall forecast for the next 7 days. Toward parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania. Good amount of rain in spots there, and I mean even toward our area, South Georgia, some of the areas getting close to a half inch on average, even a little bit of North Florida, at least a quarter inch. So, but obviously some areas could get a few inches. I know. You can always go to clutter.com/radar for an interactive look at things when we're not on the air. And as we look towards southeast Texas there, you can see there, looking toward, I know the Houston area, we're going to be watching to see how much more rain occurs there because of a lot of antecedent rainfall. I know, watching a lot of issues there. I mean, some areas are fairly okay, but then you look at Lake Conroe there, and that's an issue. So, again, I mean, other parts of that region, okay, despite all the rain there, like Montgomery County, parts of that area, okay, but other areas not so much, so you got to keep that in mind. But as we go ahead and see here now, our covered area, Bradford County is where we're at, a part of the 62 counties, and then Leon there and toward Tallahassee. Of course, one of the areas we cover, Lee County in Georgia. You get the idea. Always on for any tornado warning storm moving through the 62 counties. So, again, we'll be on if we need to for precipitous thunderstorms as well. So, just kind of giving you guys the latest there. Could be some fog with this pattern, so just make sure, be really careful. That can lead to accidents. Some of those can be deadly. We've seen it before around here plenty of times, sadly. Just slow down and give yourself extra time to reach your destination there during that morning commute is what we're really looking. Make sure your vehicle is as visible as possible to other vehicles by using your low beam headlights and leave plenty of room between you and the outside there of your vehicle, of course, that's in front of you. So, again, it's something to keep in mind. Just going to have to be watching there the situation. Could have that hazardous driving condition and those hazardous conditions around. But as we get toward Friday here, you see 30% chance of rain, up to rain chances a little bit here. Friday through Sunday, we're focusing. Saturday looks to be the wettest here at 40%. So just keep that in mind. Could have some issues with things like FSU baseball, and they had issues with Gator baseball there. I had to schedule a double header for Friday there. So it's kind of interesting to see that. I know as we're looking ahead, you see the temperature above average. I mean, look at that, 94 by next Thursday. Ooh, that is some sweltering heat. I mean, you don't have all the humidity yet like you'll have maybe later on in summer, but that's not what you want to see here if you're a fan of colder weather. I mean, it's pretty early for that. I mean, it's Kentucky Derby weekend there, Cinco de Mayo Sunday, and next weekend's Mother's Day. So keep that in mind there too in terms of this weather. We'll see if we get, sometimes when you get these temperatures to build up, eventually you might get some storm acts and to kind of bust this pattern a little bit. We shall see. It's kind of early to know if that'll happen or not. But it's pretty warm here for this time of year. I mean, sitting several degrees above average for those highs. So just keep that in mind there. I know as we're looking at things across the region, always giving the latest. Of course, things have been a little bit slower coming out of the Weather Center here recently, as you guys may know, and I referenced it here last week, and going back a little bit further on social media as well. My father there, William Cloud, passing away there suddenly and unexpectedly there at Middleburg Rehabilitation and Nursing Center in Middleburg, Florida on April 14th there, 2024. So I just always going to keep him in my memory, and just I try to do my best here in the next several weeks, months, and years to come, just trying to keep his memory alive there. he got out of the hospital that Friday, and then that Sunday there, something happened, and he suddenly there and unexpectedly passed away there at Middleburg Rehabilitation and Nursing Center in Middleburg, Florida. So let's go ahead and give you another look there toward that map, that weather map there. You can see, giving you guys a look there toward our region, toward Bradford and Clay County there, Alachua County. Seeing those temperatures there right now. You can see 74 still in Albany. That's where my father was born, actually. And you can kind of see 75 there, Ocala. Giving you guys an idea there of just the look there. Everything going on in terms of those temperatures here across the region. So again, there's the different platforms are on: Facebook, KC Cloud WX, Cloud Weather, Twitter /X at Cloud KC, YouTube at Cloud Weather, Twitch Cloud Weather, cloudweather.com is the website there. And then looking toward parts of Oklahoma, the severe thunderstorm warning just popping up there, parts of McIntosh and Pittsburgh counties there, ping pong ball size there on 60-mile-an-hour winds toward areas like McAllister maybe. And the next little bit, that is moving off toward the east at 15, so maybe they won't get in the worst of it in McAllister. It might be more like Crowder there. If it was moving southeast, we'd be more concerned about McAllister. They were in the text of the warning, but looking at that on the hail track, it looks like it's headed more east. So that's kind of the storyline there. So again, let's go ahead and give you another last look at things. 68 Tallahassee, 67 there in Flagler County. So let's see if there's any questions or comments there as we kind of look at things, trying to just see what's going on there. I don't see anything in terms of those questions or comments. So if you guys have a great night, great weekend. We'll be on for any national concerns if they're really serious, like maybe next Monday, any local concerns that rise to a pretty significant level will pop on as well. Of course, lower criteria for local concerns. And we'll post on Facebook and Twitter /X for any of those warnings that pop up that don't actually require us to come on.